Model Test 7. Speaking Section.
The speaking section tests your ability to communicate in English in an academic setting. During the test, you will be presented with 6 speaking questions. The questions ask for a response to a single question, a conversation, a talk, or a lecture. You may take notes as you listen, but notes are not graded. You may use your notes to answer the questions. Some of the questions ask for a response to a reading passage and a talk or a lecture. The reading passages and the questions are written, but the directions will be spoken. Your speaking will be evaluated on both the fluency of the language and the accuracy of the content. You will have 15 to 20 seconds to prepare and 45 to 60 seconds to respond to each question. Typically, a good response will require all of the response time, and the answer will be complete by the end of the response time. You will have about 20 minutes to complete the speaking section. A clock on the screen will show you how much time you have to prepare each of your answers and how much time you have to record each response.
Number 1. Listen for a question about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to record your answer.
Think about a book that you have enjoyed reading. Why did you like it? What was especially interesting about the book? Use specific details and examples to support your response.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Number 2. Listen for a question that asks your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to record your answer.
Some people think that it is better to travel as part of a tour group when they are visiting a foreign country. Other people prefer to make their own travel plans so that they can travel independently. Which approach do you think is better, and why? Use specific reasons and examples to support your opinion.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Number 3. Read a short passage and listen to a talk on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
A public meeting is planned to discuss alternatives for renovating the original building on campus.
Read the notice from the college newspaper, printed on page 496.
You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to a professor who is speaking at the meeting. She is expressing her opinion about the proposals.
Although there may be some practical reasons for tearing down the structure surrounding the clock tower, I urge the committee to consider the historical importance of Old Main and opt for renovation of the original structure. I think we all agree that the brick structure is quite beautiful and basically sound. Only a few minor repairs would be necessary to preserve it. The cost of new electrical and plumbing systems for the old structure would be less than the cost of a new building with the same systems. And if a new building were to be erected, the clock tower would seem out of place somehow.
The professor expresses her opinion of the plan for the renovation of Old Main. Report her opinion and explain the reasons that she gives for having that opinion.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Number 4. Read a short passage and then listen to part of a lecture on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now read the passage about Pangaea, printed on page 497.
You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture in a geography class. The professor is talking about Pangaea.
The theory of continental drift posits that 250 million years ago, the continents were all connected in one gigantic continent, which we refer to as Pangaea, and that was surrounded by one huge ocean called Panthalassa. At that time, the northernmost region of the continent corresponded to a landmass that included most of the modern continent of Asia, and Europe was south of the Asian region instead of north as it is now. So, Asia and Europe were connected to the west with what is now North America. Africa and the Arabian Peninsula were positioned south of Europe, with South America to the west, India to the east, and Antarctica and Australia south and southeast. Then, about 200 million years ago, this supercontinent began to separate into a northern continent and a southern continent. The northern continent was made of what is currently North America, Greenland, Europe, and Asia, and the southern continent included Antarctica, Australia, India, and South America. By 135 million years ago, the two continents had moved into positions that began to resemble the map that we see today, with 7 continents.
Explain how plate tectonics relates to the theory of continental drift.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Number 5. Listen to a short conversation. Then listen for a question about it. After you hear the question, you have 20 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now listen to a short conversation between a student and her friend.
Are you still having headaches?
Yeah, I'm taking Tylenol every day.
That doesn't sound good. Why don't you go over to the health center?
I keep thinking it'll go away. Probably just a tension headache. I feel really stressed out this semester.
Well, you're probably right. But it still wouldn't hurt to get a checkup. Maybe the doctor will refer you for an eye exam. I used to get headaches from eye strain, especially when I was using my computer a lot. And guess what? I needed to get my glasses changed.
No kidding? I hadn't thought about that, but I do notice that it gets worse after I've been using my computer.
Well, then, that's important to mention when you see the doctor at the health center.
You think I should still go to the health center? I mean, if it's my eyes, I could just make an appointment with the eye doctor.
You could, but you really aren't sure what it is. I'd go to the doctor at the health center, and I'd ask for a referral to the eye doctor. Besides, if you get referred, I think your student health insurance will pay most of the cost of new glasses.
Describe the woman's problem and the 2 suggestions that her friend makes about how to handle it. What do you think the woman should do, and why?
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Number 6. Listen to part of a lecture. Then listen for a question about it. After you hear the question, you have 20 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now listen to part of a lecture in a business class. The professor is discussing the way that a fax machine transmits and receives data.
Okay, to illustrate my point that many new machines are simply combinations of machines that are already available, let's talk about the fax machine. To understand how a fax machine works, I'd like you to think of it as 3 machines: a copier, a modem, and a printer. First, the data is copied. How does that happen? Well, when you load paper into the fax machine, a light shines on it, and optical sensors read whether a specific point on the paper is black or white. These sensors communicate the digital information into a microprocessor, where a copy of the page is made of black or white dots. Thus, you see that in the first step, the fax machine functions like a copier. Next, the fax machine works like a modem. Remember, a modem takes a black and white image and converts this digital data into an analog signal, that is, electronic impulses that can be sent over a phone line. The fax machine calls another fax machine to transmit, using 2 different types of tones to represent the black and white dots in the document. For example, it might send an 800 Hz tone for white and a 1300 Hz tone for black. The last part of a fax machine is the printer. After the receiving fax machine answers the sending fax machine, it begins to accept the electronic impulses, and then it converts them back to the black and white dots in a digital image. Finally, it prints the image out on paper just like any other printer.
Using the main points and examples from the lecture, describe the 3 parts of a fax machine, and then explain how the fax process works.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Model Test 7. Example answers.
Example answer for independent speaking question 1. A book.
The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale is one of my favorite books. According to Dr. Peale, a positive outlook's essential to a happy, successful life. But what's especially interesting about the book are the practical strategies that help maintain an optimistic approach to living, even when things don't happen to be going well. He recommends reflection on all the aspects of life that are positive and cultivating an attitude of gratitude. He also recommends positive statements and mental pictures to encourage and motivate and to replace negative thoughts that come to mind.
Example answer for independent speaking question 2. Foreign travel.
I've taken several tours, but I prefer to make my own travel plans, because I don't want to spend a lot of time at tourist hotels. In my experience, large hotels insulate travelers from the foreign culture. Instead of eating typical food, they prepare special meals for the tourists. And when I'm with groups of tourists, it's less likely that local people will approach me to talk. On my own, I've had some wonderful conversations with locals. Another reason that I like to travel independently is because I'm kinda a spontaneous person. So I like to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves on the trip.
Example answer for integrated speaking question 3. Old Main.
The professor doesn't support the plan to demolish the main structure of Old Main and build a new structure around the original clock tower. She presents 3 arguments. First, she says that the brick structure now standing is strong and it would require only minor repairs. And second, she points out that the electrical and plumbing problems in the old building could be repaired for less than the expenditure for a new building. Finally, she opposes the construction of a new building around the original clock tower because she thinks that the tower would look odd in the new setting. She would probably support the alternative plan, which is to repair the original building.
Example answer for integrated speaking question 4. Pangea.
According to the theory of plate tectonics, the outer layer of the Earth is made up of plates that are continually moving and consequently changing the relative position of the land and oceans. Building on this theory, scientists have proposed that about 250 million years ago, there was only one landmass, a huge continent that they've named Pangea, and it included all of the continents that we observe today. But about 200 million years ago, the plates caused Pangea to drift and break into a northern continent that included North America, Greenland, Asia, and Europe, and a southern continent that contained South America, India, Antarctica, and Australia. By about 135 million years ago, the plates had separated the landmasses into more or less the 7 continents that we recognize today, and positioned them fairly close to their current locations.
Example answer for integrated speaking question 5. Headaches.
The woman's suffering from daily headaches, and she's controlling the pain by taking Tylenol. The man suggests that she make an appointment with a doctor at the health center because the problem should be diagnosed by a professional. But he also mentions the possibility that the doctor might refer her for an eye exam. Apparently, the problem's worse when she's been staring at the computer for long periods of time. He reminds her that if the doctor at the health center refers her for the eye exam, the student health insurance may pay a large percentage of the cost for glasses. So I think the woman should take the man's advice because eye strain's a common problem for college students, and she probably does need an eye appointment. But by going to the doctor at the health center first, she can be certain that there isn't something more serious going on. And if she needs glasses, the referral will probably allow her to use her insurance benefit.
Example answer for integrated speaking question 6. Fax machines.
A fax machine has 3 parts. The fax that's sending text and images has sensors to read black and white points on paper and communicate the patterns digitally to a microprocessor. And the microprocessor, it recreates the images in black and white dots. So this part of the process is like a copy machine. So then the digital information, the image in black and white dots, it's converted into an analog signal that's made up of electronic impulses. The impulses are machine that's sending the information connects with another fax machine that's receiving the information. They communicate with 2 tones, one that signals a black dot and another that signals a white dot. And the fax machine that receives the tones begins to print the dots on paper in the same way that any printer produces an image. So a fax is really a combination copier, modem, and printer.